Hello, this is Justin again, and for those of you like me, please subscribe and share, or you can go to my Patreon and support me. Today's video is about trauma and really trauma-based mind control. In recent years, the governments around the world have used trauma to basically enslave us. The trauma of the pandemic, for example, or the trauma that, oh my God, people are dying for coronavirus. They were mostly older people, and people were really sick to begin with. But the fact that older and sick people were dying, oh my God, that was enough they use that to traumatize people into basically destroying the economy. Everybody was put under lockdown. Small businesses were shut down. Hotels were closed. Um, all businesses deemed non-essential by the healthcare systems and government were closed. We were only allowed to go out to the grocery store, or like the gas station, or the pharmacy, or something like that. And this did massive economic damage and massive psychological damage. People ended up committing suicide or overdosing on drugs or taking on other people and killing them. All because communists wanted to destroy everything that didn't make us totally dependent upon the government, because the idea was to shut down all non-essential work and make us live on unemployment, or basically, what do they call it? Guaranteed minimum income. Where you just get income from the government and then you have to live what they tell you, or how they tell you. Sorry, this wine is a little bit strong, but I like it. And like I said, this is a pretty serious topic, and I kind of want to have a little fun and just sort of lighten the mood. So for my, I'm not going to do this for most of my videos, but for this video, the last video, and maybe one other, fine. So anyway, on trauma, yes, they used the trauma and the fear that people had, like, oh my God, grandma could die. And they used that to basically wreck the world economy until people couldn't take it anymore and came out and basically protested. And they had to not only end the lockdowns, they had to end the forced wearing of the mask, because a mask is really like a dog muzzle. Your mouth is covered, and people really can't see how you express yourself when you talk. And but that was also the idea, to traumatize us so much. Oh my God, you might infect somebody and kill them. You have to wear this dog muzzle. And the people who came up with an idea to try to force us to wear a mask permanently are really sick. I mean, it's just evil. Um, yeah, I'm making for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's nervousness because I'm really just getting back to this podcasting and doing videos. But whatever. Another major trauma that I think damaged the world, and this was even before the pandemic, my home country in America, where supposedly the police kill black people every day. And there's just genocide being waged, supposedly, by the police and white supremacists against black people, and all of that is false. The vast majority of black people in America who are killed by other people are killed by other black people. And poor black neighborhoods in America, oh my God, violence is endemic. There are reasons for that. The breakdown of black families caused by the Democrats. I'd say in my grandparents' generation, both sides of my family, they were married in those days. You did not have single parents among black families. To have a baby out of wedlock in those days, I'm talking about the 30s and the 40s, you were a prostitute. It was like totally unacceptable. You had to leave town. Like, it very rarely happened. Pretty much all black people were born to married parents. Then you had various liberation movements in the 60s, the civil rights movement, but around that time you had the women's rights movement and the LGBTQ movements, which really wanted to destroy the nuclear family. So Johnson had his war on poverty, and they gave out a lot more money in welfare and social services and housing projects we built in cities around the country in the 50s and the 60s. Of course, they favored single mothers. So there are women who left their husbands or their boyfriends to get these government benefits because they had been living in kind of rundown houses. And at that time, the housing projects were new and modern. For the first 2 years, it worked. But I think in the first few years, a lot of housing projects in New York are mostly white. Then they put all the single black mothers in there. And as time went by, when various social ills struck in, those children without fathers did not grow up to be so good. When various crime problems came in, the whites bailed out. And those buildings, let's just say they further went downhill. And all sorts of social ills struck in. Increased drug use, increased violence, increased homicide. So, no, in the United States, few black people get killed by the police or by white supremacists. I'm not saying incidents don't get happen, but that is far from the main cause of homicide. Black people in America, it's black on black crime because of conditions created by the Democratic Party in the 60s and 70s. However, the Democrats also used the occasional police incident in which somebody black does get killed by the police for whatever reason. And a lot of these cases, I mean, each case is different, put it like that. You have to individually assess each case. But they use this in order to scare black people. Oh my God, you could be killed by a cop. It could be your son. Obama said that could have been him. So all of this served to scare black people in 2020 after the riots into voting for Biden, which is pretty shitty. And has America got better under Biden? No. Thank God. I mean, people can vote for what they want to. I'm not judging. But the Republicans made major gains among blacks and Hispanics, and the Republicans won the House. DeSantis got the majority of the Hispanic vote in Florida, and he got 13% of the black vote in Florida, which is actually pretty high because normally, like 90 something percent of the black people vote for like a Democratic candidate. The fact that less than 90% of black people voted for the Democratic candidate in Florida is good news, meaning that a lot of black people are breaking away from the Democratic Party. A lot of black people in Florida voted for the Republican candidate, a white man, Brian Kemp, over Stacey Abrams. Thank God that Democrats suck. And people like Stacey Abrams are very much a part of the trauma economy. She's someone who Kanye West calls them the Black Lives Matter office managers. These are mediocre people put into positions by certain interests, and they are dependent on they're really dependent, I would say, like on the Democratic Party or by white people who want to hide, who have guilt for racism, and they want to hide behind their guilt, so they're hiding behind Stacey Abrams. So they'll push her, like they'll feel better somehow if they give this mediocre black woman, if they can make her be governor. But thank God that didn't happen, because people like that, they can't act on how they feel or say how they really feel because they're too beholden to certain interests who are going to say, we put you here, we're so good, affirmative action, which is why I'm so happy the Supreme Court is going to rule affirmative action illegal and unconstitutional. I'm all for people of all races being successful and moving up socioeconomically, but no one should get anything because of their race or their sex. A bit more wine. But yeah, that was another major trauma. All of the race issues in America. It was even used all around the world because what they'll try to do around the world is say somehow the communists or the socialists supposedly just love black people or women or LGBTQ people or whatever. And supposedly it's people on the right all around the world who just like these mean white men. That's like standard communist talk because communists hate the West and want to destroy all Western institutions in America, Europe, Canada, wherever. But there's been a big backlash, in part because of the pandemic, against this. Italy elected a right wing government. We all know Eastern Europe is pretty right wing. Andalusia in Spain elected a right wing government. And we'll see how elections play out in the rest of Europe. But there's a right wing rebellion against leftist or communist or socialist totalitarianism. And people are starting to see how these elites are hiding behind their lies. Like, oh, we don't want you to have a car. We want you to use public transportation. Meanwhile, people like Nancy Pelosi are getting around in limousines, and by limousines and by jets. And obviously, Americans will all know who Nancy Pelosi is, the ex-Speaker of the House, because her party lost control of the House, so she couldn't be Speaker anymore. But she was she's a Democrat, a very left-wing Democrat, who is someone who would claim to be worried about climate change, but she's still getting around in her limousine and by jet. And this is the hypocrisy of these communist slash socialist leaders. They basically want to enforce poverty on everybody else, but they want to use their government jobs to live fabulously and luxuriously and want to kill the economy for everyone else, not tied to the government. So they use all kinds of trauma and fear, like, oh my God, there's a hurricane. That's caused by global warming. There have always been hurricanes. Number two, Earth's climate has always changed for various reasons. We've had climate change over thousands or millions or however many years Earth has been in existence. We've had climate change. We'll continue to have climate change. But they try to manipulate people by saying all climate change is caused by human industrial activity. Therefore, you have to starve and deprive yourself because all these really bad industrial activities we're doing are going to destroy the planet. No, they won't destroy the planet. It's true that nothing is going to destroy the planet. Different species may come and go in terms of extinction. Like, yes, you can hunt certain animals to extinction. That doesn't destroy the planet. That causes ecological damage, but species have gone extinct before, and new species have shown up. And no, we should not deliberately make extinction species go extinct. No, we shouldn't deliberately destroy the environment. But on the other hand, some of the anarchists literally have us go back to the caveman days. And it's not because the caveman days are so fun. It's really because they can't function. So because they can't function, they want to destroy the society. These are people who hate any kind of law and order, any kind of functionality, all because of their own mental illness and confusion and lack of intelligence. Yeah, this is some really good wine. Hmm. Hmm. I'm going to finish this video and I'll probably drink a little bit more for my next two videos, and then for the rest of the week, my videos will be sober. But it is kind of cool talking to you guys, drinking wine. But yeah, the trauma-based mind control, the trauma is not good for us. And they're using the trauma to force us to do different things that we might normally do. And another trauma is they'll share videos like, nobody likes to see people suffering. Such and such country, all the people are dying. We must let all the poor people from the third world into America, Europe, and Canada. And I am not anti-immigration. I have lived in different countries in the world. I'm American, but I got Spanish and Portuguese citizenship too. So I have 3 citizenships. But what's going on? The communists or the leftists are using mass immigration. Like I've heard from people in London too, that all the hotels in London are full of refugees. Clearly, they're using immigrants as a weapon to destroy business, like all the hotels. And I was in a small town in Spain, and they filled the hotels with Ukrainian refugees. So it was happening in Spain too. I was in a small town in Malaga, Andalusia. And yeah, so it's kind of like You have like the president of Spain, Sanchez is left wing. So you were having people who were using like refugees to like really go at tourism to like destroy the tourist economy, which is nuts. But it's just insane. But it's a trauma-based economy because people were afraid. Russia was invading, blowing up the Ukraine, so people were afraid if Russia went in the Ukraine, other European nations could be next. So you do have a lot of Ukrainian refugees all over Europe, and there's been a scramble to accommodate them. And Western European nations get a lot of immigrants from all around the world. Obviously, a lot of Africans and Asians, a lot of people from say India, Pakistan, a good number of Chinese, and of course Latin Americans too. And I am not critical of immigration. I'm just saying that the trauma economy manipulates or wants to manipulate immigrants. But a lot of immigrants own small businesses, and those small businesses were really hurt by the shutdown. So there's been a backlash. Thankfully, a lot of immigrants who are in Europe were like, well, they want to work. Nobody wants to just be like, okay, government, give us this money and you tell us where we can go or where we can live. No population around the world likes that, which leftists in their ideology can't understand that because they've declared all people from the third world, or all dark skinned people, are all as victims, perpetual victims, who perpetually need their sympathy, which is bullshit. And that's another part of the trauma based economy. And if you really want to talk about trauma, in my family, stuff happened like two of my uncles got in a fight, and my uncle put a knife to my other uncle's neck. It was going to kill him until this 18-year-old calmed him down. And there were some other pretty vicious fights in my family too. That was traumatic. I never had a racial incident traumatic like that. Any trauma I have is from the evil old despots in my. This is why we need Jesus, and believe me, I have had to pray to Jesus because right now I'm just chilling and drinking, but I was a mess a while ago. But that was not because of racism, and no, I don't blame the world. But going through some of the things, the stuff that went down in my family was horrible, and my mother had a first cousin. This poor woman died rather tragically. Actually, a bunch of people in my family died tragically, cancer and other stuff. But this poor woman who died rather tragically, she was raped more than once. I'm pretty sure on more than one occasion, the rapist was somebody in our family. So, when some leftist tries to manipulate me with, oh my God, the black people, like, bitch, please, black people don't get along with each other. I've had shit happen in my family. Um, I've known black people kill each other. So, I am not afraid of right wing white people, or I'm not going to panic whenever a right wing government comes to power in America or in Europe. In fact, I voted for Republicans. I voted straight Republican this election. I'd rather have law and order. Um, I'm against racism. I'm against treating anybody badly because of their race or sex or sexual orientation. But I don't like criminals. If they have to go to jail, they have to go to jail. I'd rather people be safe. If they have to go to the mental hospital, they have to go to the mental hospital because I'd rather be safe. And I'm not interested in letting criminals hide behind their race. And I'm not interested in encouraging bad behavior because people claim to be oppressed and permanent victims. Um, but the people who want to create permanent victims are doing so just for votes. That's what socialist or democratic or communist politicians do in both America and Europe. Goodbye for now. I'm going to do two more videos, but I need a little bit more Jesus juice. Bye for now. Please subscribe and share, and support me on Patreon. Adios, and screw trauma-based mind control. It's not good.